Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today it's another episode of the Celtic transfer talk. This one might be a bit shorter than usual. It's been a bit more of a quiet week, to be honest, for Celtic. Not much been thrown about. Celtic have just got back into training. The team are back into training for the following season. The fixtures were revealed this morning and such, so things are getting back. You know, we're getting into the new season's kind of starting now. But, you know, on the transfer front of things, we've been quite quiet, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. Also, you're seeing this as quite kind of a new format to the video. I've got a graphic kind of thing around me. Let me know what you prefer, if you prefer this or if you prefer it just full screen, and I'll keep it whatever you like for the next video. But I quite like this approach. I thought it was a good idea. So I'm going to go with this kind of border around the video for now, just for this episode, test it out and see what you guys think. So quite a quiet week, as I said. There's been a few rumours floated here and about players coming in, players who could potentially leave the club. So we may as well talk through them. The first one, as you'll see on the side, and this is why I've added it to the side, it lets you know what I'm going to talk about. The first thing is Mariano, a Real Madrid striker. You may have heard of him for the fact he plays for Real Madrid. He has been linked with Celtic. It would probably be in the millions. There's been no price I've seen floating around. If there has been a price, then feel free to leave it in the comments. But, you know, he's a player who Celtic are looking into, and Celtic aren't the only club looking into him. He's been looked at by Spurs. Now, someone who ends up at Real Madrid obviously has some form of talent. No matter if they do well or not at Real Madrid, you know, you've got to be signed to them for a reason. So this could be a player who could come into Celtic and in the space of 1 or 2 years absolutely tear the league apart and be off. He could be phenomenal. Who knows, he might join and be a flop. But if you're looking at a player who currently plays for arguably the best team in the world, with the best coaching staff in the world, he's a player who's going to come to Celtic and offer a great amount to the team. Whether we get him or not is a different story. It's only a rumour. Mariano, just go through his stats quickly. Last season, made 14 appearances for Real Madrid, scoring 5 goals, including 4 in the Copa del Rey competition. Now, the Copa del Rey is, you know, their version of the Scottish Cup. It's their domestic trophy. And scoring 4 goals in that for such a young guy is a great accomplishment. It's a high level of football, so he's a player who I think could be potentially very good if he came to Celtic. Do we need him? That's the question. We have Dembele, we have Griffiths. It looks as though we're going to keep a hold of Dembele and Griffiths. So do we really need this guy? Do we need Mariano? Is he what's the word I'm looking for? A priority? Is he someone who we desperately need? I don't think so. If depending on the price, it would be nice probably to bring him in though. I mean, look, we had a team at one point with John Hartson, Chris Sutton and Henrik Larsson, and look where that team went, so there's no problem about having 3 strikers, I would say. We'll see what happens. I suppose that for the Real Madrid Castilla team, he's made 43 appearances, scoring 32 goals, crazy numbers, and I know that is their B team, but they're still in the 2nd division of Spanish football, which is quite a high league. Probably not far after the standard of our league, so, you know, phenomenal stuff from him. Who knows? Could we be seeing him at Celtic? I mean, he has been talks about him going to Spurs as well. If it comes down to it, probably a higher chance of him picking to go to Spurs, but nonetheless, Celtic are linked with him. Would I say, if I was put in the hot seat to say yes or no, I'd bring him in. I think I would. It's not something I would go for, but if I was offered him for a decent enough price, I'd take him. Second thing to move on to, Kieran Tierney. When will the rumours ever stop about the likes of Tierney and Dembele leaving the club? Never, probably. We're never going to hear the end of this guy wants Tierney, this team wants Tierney. And apparently there's been scouts from Manchester United away to watch Kieran Tierney. Spurs, Liverpool, everybody in England's linked with the boy. Phenomenal player. Celtic, arguably Celtic's best player, one of the best players and one of the most passionate about the club. But he's been watched heavily from English clubs apparently, and obviously we'll see why. Hopefully he doesn't leave, but scouts have been watching from Man United. He has committed his future to Celtic, he said, but obviously when there's money waving in front of your face, you never know. I'd like to think no, he'd stay loyal to the club, and I think he will stay loyal to the club. We shouldn't hold him back, of course, but I think he knows what the right thing to do is stay here at least 1 or 2 more seasons, develop his football, then maybe take a move down to England. As much as I'd love to see him see out his career at Celtic, you know, that's probably the way things are going to go. But Liverpool are apparently interested in him, and apparently they're going to bid for him. So we'll see how that goes. Probably more news on that in the next few days or such. It's all rumours. As I said, I just report to you what I see. Everything to do with Celtic, and give my opinion. My opinion is hands off their player, you wankers. Moving on to the next thing. Joshua Brennett. a fullback from PSV Eindhoven over in the Dutch Eredivisie. I've been seeing a lot of this on Facebook and such over the past few days, seeing us linked with him heavily. I thought, we'd focus more on a central defender for European football, Champions League quality football, but apparently I've been heavily linked with this player, Joshua Brennan, who has also been watched by many other clubs in Europe. So it does show that he's got a bit of quality in him, and he's a player who could seriously improve our team. He's a right back, so he'd have competition from Mikael Lustig, who I think is more than good enough for a right back. He's a bit slow for the Champions League. I don't know, what do you think about Lustig? I think he's good enough. But he's won 2 Eredivisie titles, so he's got experience at winning top divisions. I mean, the Dutch division is probably better than our league. It is better than our league, to be honest. But he's in a similar position where he's at a team who are always competing out of 2 or 3 to win the title. And I think if we could sign him, that would be a great pickup. There's a lot of teams interested in Watford, Fiorentina, Cologne, just to name a few. They're all from top nations: England, England, Italy, and Germany. So I mean, that is big teams wanting them. Could we compete with those teams? He made 26 appearances last season for PSV, so he's a major part of their squad. He's only 23 years old, so he's got a lot of development to do, and this could be another example of us finding a Virgil van Dijk or whatever, paying cheap money, see what happens. I think he would be a good player. I think we should really prioritise in centre back, so I'd put it in the back burner if it was personally me at the top of things and making the decisions. I would focus on a centre half. Joshua Brennan, right back, 2-time Eredivisie winner. Could he be on his way to Celtic? What do you want? Do you want him there? Is there any other better options out there for right back? I would have honestly probably. Callum Patterson's away now to Cardiff, of course. Personally, I would have probably went in for him if it was on a free contract. But that's away now. He's away to Cardiff. That's that. And finally, moving on to the final thing, was something broke out today. Bristol City player Joe Bryan, never heard of him in my life. He's a Scottish international apparently, never ever heard of him. He's only 23 as well, very young player. Joe Bryan, I believe he's a centre mid. I could be completely wrong in saying that, I'm guessing here. I just remember seeing this today. Apparently we are watching him heavily. If you know more about the guy, feel free to comment. If he is a centre mid, I'd probably rather see us go for... I think this is the point for Celtic to really take that step up and go for better players. This is the point in time. Obviously, there comes the barrier of, do players want to come to Celtic? It has to work on both ends. We can't just say we want you, come on. It has to work on both ends. But I think this is the point in time where we need to switch from becoming a selling club and a development club. I think it's got to happen. I think it does, and there's every chance in the world of it happening with Brendan Rodgers as our manager. With the way we went last season, and hopefully that does happen. But Joe Bryan, 23, made 49 appearances for Bristol City last year. I think he was their player of the season. He was a standout nonetheless, apparently. So we're being linked heavily with him. Personally, I don't know who he is, so I don't have an opinion. If we sign him, we sign him. Let me know what you think of that. And finally, to talk about what I think has been a slow start, but I'm not too bothered personally. But I've seen a lot of people complain and a lot of people back up them. There's been a kind of divide in social media from what I've seen of this kind of slow start to the transfer window we've had. We've not really went and done anything. We've signed Johnny Hayes and that's about it. But I've seen a lot of people, defend Brendan Rodgers such he's been on his honeymoon, he just got married and all the rest of it. But a lot of people complaining we're not doing enough. Obviously, you look at Rangers and they're blitzing out the signings. Whether or not they're smart signings is a different story. I really cannot give my opinion on the Rangers signings because I've seen a total of one of them play in my life. Never heard or never seen any of the rest of them before in my life, so I can't give an opinion on what I think of those signings. I've seen many people ask in the comments, what's your opinion on the Rangers signings, especially Rangers fans? And my response is the same every time. I honestly do not know. We'll see when it comes to the start of the season, I suppose, because I've never ever seen them play. This is what a lot of Celtic fans I've seen, complaining about the slow start. But I think it's understandable. Take our time. We've got a lot of money to spend. We need to spend it wisely. It's all about improving to become a Champions League, top 2 in the group contender. That's where we need to, develop for, and we have to spend our money wisely. Whether or not we're doing it too slowly is a different story. Personally, I'm not too bothered. Where do you stand? Do you think we've had too slow a start? If we're wasting time here, we should have made more than one signing by now, or do you think it's good that we're taking our time? Personally, not bothered. I think Brendan Rodgers knows what he's doing. He's proved that in the past year. We should have the faith and the trust in him to do what he's doing. And it'll probably work out okay. He's made fantastic signings, not went wrong with any of them. And I think that's going to continue no matter what speed he goes at. If it's fast, slow, whatever speed he makes his signings at, he's probably going to get the best out of them anyway. You know, hopefully we don't end up with players in the past like we've had Timu Pukki, Dirk Borigter and stuff like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But as I said, this is the point where I think we need to go and try and push for those, you know, next calibre type of players. We've done it last season. We brought in Scott Sinclair, we brought in Kolo Toure, who are two players who had already made a name for themselves in England. Obviously, you know, with Scott Sinclair, he was kind of falling away. But, you know, he had that name, we knew who he was, and it wasn't just some obscure player we picked up from the middle of Kenya. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, of course. I mean, look at the players we have picked up by doing that. But I think if we want to start right away, we need someone who is at that calibre of play. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Celtic Transfer Talk. As I said, not much to talk about this week. I'm going to try and make this a Friday thing, unless there's big news throughout the week. So guys, if you enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe. This has been me, Rimo18, and I'll see you all next time.